Hi, everyone. My name is Rebecca, as some of you may know, and I am joined by Cindy, and together we make up the Leeds and Grenville Digital Main Street Digital Service Squad. As you all have heard, it's a mouthful, and we're coming to you from the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville, as you can see in our backdrops, and we are so very excited to share with you our tips, our tricks, our information on how to have successful social media. So as you may have heard both of us talk about to many of you, social media can seem daunting. We understand that, but we want to make sure that you don't feel intimidated by anything, or we want you to know the tips and tricks that we know. So we're going to get started. Cindy's going to give us a start, and then I will be jumping in the second half. And we're just going to share what we know. So Cindy, take it away. Oh, and if the rest of you can mute yourself, that would be wonderful. I'm going to mute everyone else, but please keep it muted. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our little info session. We're so excited to come to you direct here out of Brockville, broadcasting across our wonderful United Counties. Very exciting for us. So hi to all of the clients that we've met. And we're going to get right into it because there's lots of great information for us to share. I'm going to share my screen here and we will start our PowerPoint. Please put some questions into the chat. We would love to hear some questions as well as feedback for sure. You guys steer what we deliver. So away we go. So this is, and hopefully everyone can hear me just fine. So we're going to get into learning to share more, save time, and grow sales. So Digital Services Squad, we let you know all of the things that are amazing about the digital world. We want to share that with you and make it feel easy breezy. So agenda today, I'm going to start by letting you know a little bit more about brainstorming. We'll cover that. We'll do a little bit about planning. We're going to talk about a formula, something that I've been doing for a long, long time in digital strategies, building digital strategies. It's thinking about and planning ahead, breaking it down to make it easy. We're going to talk about best practices, as well as building your credibility as your own brand. And of course, results which drive your move forward, and talk to your strategy. Then Rebecca is going to take it over and we're going to she'll talk about posts versus stories, scheduling your posts, and she'll cover lots of information on platforms. One is multi-platform schedulers, and another one is native. So those are kind of some buzzwords that she'll fill you in with some information. So here we go. So keeping your focus as a small business entrepreneur can be very hard because you wear many, many hats, right? So you want to start your plan, and you're going to do that by thinking about, where am I going to jump off from? So the way to start your plan is very simple. Get something tangible. We want you to go out, take that extra trip during your lunch or after work, after your business hours close, buy a journal, a little something special from the dollar store. Or if you're more digital, I'm more traditional, mind you, I like the paper. We want you to use your notes app in your phone. So open up that notes app and just keep adding and building. And this is all key to content development. It's actually starting to curate content from your brain and elsewhere. We're going to dedicate a few minutes a day to doing that, right? So even if you skip a day, that's okay. Once you get into that schedule, it's going to be easier. You're going to actively write down those thoughts. And like me, I'm also an entrepreneur at heart. I'm even on the treadmill and I'm like, oh my goodness, yeah, that's a great idea, right? So capture those things. They're really important. This is the beginning of your plan, and we want you to love it. And if you don't love it, we'll cover that later. Please don't think of it as ball and chain. We want you to actually engage in this. We want you to feel comfy as well. Find a time that suits your schedule. Again, fit it in. Find a place that supports your creativity, as well as an environment where you can focus. So find a closet somewhere you can lock yourself away with the brooms and the dustpans and the mop container. bring that book and bring that notes app with you and start making those notes. Even if it's just one message that says, oh my goodness, rescue me. That means you have to learn how to manage your time a little bit better, right? So stay committed to this, because over time you'll see a pattern, and those patterns will tell you where you need to go. Not only your customers but your behavioral patterns will too. So please, please, please keep in mind the very important 3 B's. Be open to change, be willing to learn, and be proactive about those 2 things. So always keep your mind open. Sometimes we want to keep everything close to our chest, and it's not necessarily the best strategy. Collaboration is amazing. We've seen a lot of that over the time in our seats here as the digital squad has grown. And it's been fascinating, and we're very thankful for that. We want you to relate and be motivated. So as you're writing these little things down, ask yourself these questions and find out answers to what are your barriers and challenges. What drives you to continue on your path to do what you're doing? Is it the right thing that you are doing? Some of these are very personal questions, but they all have a business strategy in mind. They all root back to why you're doing what you do and why you're telling that through your social media platforms. What are your passions? Here's another great thing. So, you might not just do in your life what you do every day and what people see you do. So maybe you are a mechanic, but maybe you also love making jam. That is something that's extremely interesting to your audience. It's almost like wow, really? That's engaging. That's something that will really pull people in and know about the full story of you, which is extremely intriguing. Also, what makes your customers return to you, right? This is maybe something that you will know a few factors, but this is something that you'll find out in conversations with your customers as well. What makes them come back? Ask them. Sometimes we put our ego on the shelf. We open ourselves up to those creative conversations, and you can strategize through those, right? Setting your boundaries, extremely important. Right. And this speaks to building that strategy and staying within the time allotment of building the strategy. So your investment, are you investing resources? What does that look like? Is it time? Is it money? Is it people? We all know they equate to money. Money can be found. Money can be spent. Time is one of those most important things to you, right? It does not expand. It is fixed. People do come and go. So you have to find out who is involved in those digital tasks. Who do you trust? That's the second one there is it only going to be you? Earmark who that is going to be, who's going to be responsible for those. Clarity and delegation, make sure you have those responsibilities written down and that is clear to all of those who are involved. And when you start to create your plan, we want you to look at staying ahead. So, collaborate with your peers. Don't feel that they are your enemy and they are your competition. Of course they are. You're fighting for, right? You're earmarking and you're aiming for that same dollar to be spent with you and not necessarily with them. So stay ahead. Have those conversations. It's okay to collaborate. And there's a lot of value in that too. Again, we're going back to that focus. So define those boundaries. Investigate. So open that journal. Keep that journal open. It is an active entity. It is living and breathing and changing all the time. Here's something very important. We want to talk about those keywords. I know that Rebecca knows exactly how important and integral they are to your business. There are about 8 to 12 words you're going to choose. And if you've gone through those Google My Business applications and registrations, you will know that those are the words you're going to pepper, not use over and over again throughout everything that you do. Do not be repetitive with those. Keywords are very important. So they're global, all the way down to very custom to what you do. Geographic, demographic, customer, your store. 8 to 12 words, okay? Observe, check what your competition is doing. Very important. Again, we've covered that. Collect. So as you're on the treadmill or as you're in the grocery store, it might look a little silly, but come on now, right? You won't remember these things later when you're doing payroll. So collect, write, jot, save those images, those things that you find when you're on websites. That's super cool, right? Do a screenshot. send it to Rebecca, send it to me, right? And say, what is that? It is so cool. I want, hashtag want, right? So feel and use the feels. Sometimes we don't want to. We're a business. We look at that as a very, structured, very hard. This is what I deliver. Bring in the feels, right? Understand your own capacity and stay within those boundaries. Ask trusted sources, very important. Okay, and you can go out and there are no dumb questions. So hopefully we've opened that up and made that very free and understanding for you to say, okay, I don't get this digital stuff. So please start from scratch. Start as if I know nothing. And if you find a really good digital strategist or specialist, they will understand that and make it so clear. Touching on curating. So curating years ago, before it became curating, was what we call ripping. So we'd rip something, but we would always in graphic design, always in content development, give credit. It's very important to give credit to the source. Content curation is, according to Q, is the practice of searching and identifying meaningful content that is generated by third parties and sharing it with your target audience, giving the benefits it provides. Curation has become an integral part of a great content marketing strategy. Not only is it integral, it saves time. So when you're thinking, oh, I don't even know what to do this week, just look around you. And I'm like, oh, okay, drink containers. Let's talk about drink containers. So Google drink containers and then see where that leads you. It'll lead you to something. There's a nugget there for sure. Okay. So here we go. We're going to talk about a little bit more about planning. Your calendar. So have a digital or paper calendar ready. I'm very traditional, but I love to mix in the digital. I start with a piece of paper that is a calendar. As you can see here, actually, here's just a little jotted piece. I'll show you that later. It is just a grid I've drawn, and it is January, February, March, right? And then divided into days, and I divide it into, it's handwritten, scratched down paper calendar, and I start my ideas there. So start with 1 month. Very simple. What's coming up? March. Earmark all notable dates on March. So are there PA days? Do you offer programming? Is there a March break, right? What else is in March? Easter could fall in March. Put those things down, write them down, note them down. Start with overarching topics like those and narrow it down to what's custom to your business. Your theme. So, right, Mother's Day, right? Let's start with that. So your theme is, what does the calendar month look like? Create a theme that is particular and relevant to your business. So here we are, we have Pantone color of the year. There are 2 this year, which is fascinating. That's a graphic designer's perspective. Illuminating. It's very inspiring. It's uplifting. It's like sunshine. We really need that, right? So this person will say, okay, I've got a floral business. I'm going to start. Mother's Day's coming up. I'm bringing in a ton of these yellow themes into my flowers. That's going to be Mother's Day. So create a theme that's particular. This theme will be your marketing theme if you have no other plan. It's a great way to start your marketing theme out. And if you already have that marketing plan, transfer these themes to that. So here's your formula. This is something that I thought of probably about 14, 15 years ago when I started in social media. I'm like, there's got to be a way to do this, schedule it, and make it easy, and voila. Nothing has changed in this in the 15 years. It's very important. Large pieces, article, down to paragraph, divided again to sentence, and then into a word, right? We're dividing it all down. When you write an article, I know a lot of you are mortified. You're like, oh my goodness, no. So you're going to curate it as well. We'll touch on that. So your article is going to look like this. It's going to be made of 4 paragraphs. It's like a sandwich, okay? It's got bread on the outside, and inside is whatever you like. You're vegan, you're going to put eggs, whatever, right? You're going to put veg and eggs. So it doesn't matter. Introduction, right? Problem. What's the problem? I don't know what to do for Mother's Day, right? Solution. Here's the color of the year. Here's what we offer. And the paragraph that's going to close is going to be your added value. So your added value is, here's a link to the Pantone site that tells about this color. And here is a coupon, a discount code for you. Click here, come through, you get 10% off your order. There's your added value, right? Follow these themes, very important. Again, breaking it down, large article, 4 paragraphs, 5 sentences each. There's a reason why there's a 5, and then peppered with those keywords. 1 paragraph per week. Here's your monthly breakdown. 4 weeks per, right? Here we go. Making sense now. Okay. 5 sentences, 1 sentence a day. And then those keywords again. Moving through that, here's where it's going to apply to your media you choose. The large article can be used for a blog. The paragraph can be used for Facebook. The sentence is inspiration and can be cut and pasted into Twitter if that's what you like to use. And the keywords can be used with those hashtags, which by chance you'll find in the e-news, a little article in the e-news from United Counties this month about what is a hashtag into your Instagram. So that's fantastic. We're dividing it down. Do you hate writing? A lot of people hate writing. We hear that. I just have no idea where to start. Here's where you're going to go. You don't have to write. You can do a sweet little video if you don't mind being in front of the camera. And if you do mind, just show your hands. Okay, there's lots of ways around it. So in Instagram, just as an example, here we are, right? 30-second video, very quick. So I do videos live on Facebook for a business I have on the side in my spare time, right? And I do 15-minute videos for meditation, right? But I also do little promos that are 30 seconds. So you can break this down, it's curation. And once you have your keywords that are connected to these, then that helps you with your search engine optimization, with your positioning online. Okay, so you really don't want to have anything to do with video or any writing, then curate. Go out and find it, post 3 times to Facebook a week. And maybe if you're in Instagram and they're brother and sister, right? Instagram's owned by Facebook, once a day. Little note here, little tip, you can submit these articles to publishers. And yeah, they can be curated by other people. And that helps with your search engine optimization as well. So I have listed here LinkedIn articles. I've submitted to ezinearticles.com. This positions you as maybe an expert in your field, and you can also use the credit published in or links to where you publish your articles. Please post ethically, okay? We want you to be appropriate. We want you to be thankful and polite. Those are just business ways of operation, right? Watch for copyright again, very important because I am an artist. That is very, very important. Give credit where credit is due. Put those links in. Ask for permission if it is something huge, you know, typically that you cannot use something that Disney owns unless you ask for permission. And typically the answer is no. We're just wee guys, right? We're awesome, don't get me wrong, but we're wee guys. So and this is something very important. Take awkward and inappropriate discussions offline. An example of this is when I was in the communications seat here locally at the YMCA. There were only 2 in 7 years that were offline, and they weren't really all that inappropriate, but the discussion needed to be taken offline and somewhere else, right? So offline it goes. We just typically come in and say, hey, you know, if you want to further this conversation, I am more than welcome. Give them your contact information, post your phone number, put your email in there. People, you know, probably about 10% of the time, they will continue it online or offline, sorry. And if they do not, that's where the conversation ends, right? Don't worry too much about that. Social media does take care of itself pretty much most of the time there. Please don't hate this. Please don't take a hate on for social media. It's here for pretty much, you know, moving forward. Delegate it. If you think it's something that is not suited for you and you have someone that you can post that can help you with posting, that's amazing. So making those wise choices about content, please make it relative to your marketing plan. And if you do not have a marketing plan, that's fine. This is the beginning of it. Okay, so even by making it smaller, so your social media strategy and plan is part of your marketing plan. So start with this, right? Make this relative to your audience. What do your people want to hear? make it relative to your customer, right? So your audience isn't necessarily your customer, right? Your customer is a paying person that comes back. Your audience is anyone. They could be a potential, they could be just someone who's interested, and your customer. So if delegating this responsibility, please use and choose the most trusting and reliable employee, a long-standing employee, someone that you know is interested and has been there a while and probably will stay with you a while, and an employee who is engaged in social media. So how do you engage? Very important. Very simply, if you don't want to do that curation, you don't want to do the formula, let's just ask a question. Hey, what do you think of, the new color and these flowers that match? Flowers, pets, what else? Babies, those things get the most hits on social media. That's where you're going to get a lot of interaction, right? That's the attention. It's the heart strings. There's the feels. Ask for recommendations. These can also be automatic to your Google My Business page recommendations. Take a poll, ask them a question again. And the poll questions, the first one, questions don't necessarily have to be public. They can go to you in a message, but taking a poll usually shows everybody the results. Schedule, and that actually taking a poll can help steer your business, right? That is, you're looking for advice in a very soft way. Schedule a free virtual event. We'll look at where we are right now in our seats with our nice warm bums. This is a free virtual event, right? And here you are, right? There's a nugget. Make sure there's some value in it to your customer and your audience. Run a contest. People will do anything for $1 pretty much. I notice you give something and advice free. Maybe it's a free virtual session, right? Run a contest. There are rules in social media platforms, so make sure that you check those out first. Post what's happening in your business, what's happening in your community. Are you renovating? People want to see that. They want to see the behind scenes. Rebecca will talk a little bit about that as well, and show your passion again. Why would I engage? The objective is to grow your business in sales, and that's part of the title of our session today is to grow your sales. So if you're more efficient with your social media, you will have more time to spend on the other end talking to someone who's going to make a sale in your store, because we know if you only allow 25% of people in your store right now, most of the people coming in are going to execute a sale. Okay, so it's very important you schedule this stuff, all of this stuff with marketing, and then you've got time to do that. Build an audience, build confidence in your brand, loyalty, be a source of valuable information, have them recognize your brand, and you are consistent in what you do. So when you do all of these things, you have the power to change the customer behavior, which is very interesting. Adding value to your posts, your audience will become fans and eventually will buy from you. So there are cool tools like platforms. They have tools to help you schedule, complete all of your planned posts, plot it out, execute it, see how it grows. It'll allow you direct conversations with existing potential customers. Where else is this possible? And it has not been possible. Remember cold calls? I do. This is so different from cold calling. So we're just getting ready to wrap it up. Results. So what is return on investment and why does it matter? So it's to prove the effectiveness of all the effort you've put in, right? Give this a 1-month trial and give it a 3-month period. Be patient and it will create the pattern for a baseline for you to see whether it is effective for you. You can see clear results in maybe a month. Tracking the ROI by creating events, promotions, and contents, you'll have clear outcomes like registrations and sales. And then eventually, right, the money will start coming in. So please stick to it. Ask yourself, why would you do this? Why would you not? Be consistent. Don't lose them, because once they're gone, more likely they will not come back to your page. Watch for those results. I find it exciting. That to me is the proof that what you were doing is having an effect. It's interesting and fun. Understand the motivators, understanding why they come to you, what they're interested in. They like cats, like you can see, cats and dogs. Here we are, right? Understand the motivators behind why you're doing this and why they come to you. Respond strategically, steer and fulfill the needs of your business and your clients. Consistency is the key. So remember those 3 B's. Be open to change. Be willing to learn, and please be proactive so you'll decide whether you want to move forward with this and continue. So I'm going to hand it over to Rebecca, and she's going to go through some of the platforms that can help you do this. All right.
Fantastic. So actually, Cindy, we had a really good question that I thought we'd toss in right now.
For sure.
The question is there a way to verify that the information we're posting has no copyright issues? So for example, I find a really good picture online, but I want to be 100% sure that it's okay for me to use. Do you have any recommendations?
Okay, so this is the same as, I suppose if you were an artist, for example, and you had an art show and you used images online to inspire some of the art. What I would do is, and what I have done is find the source of that online. So Google is an amazing place for you to find the source, okay? So if there is a title for the image that has inspired you to create a painting, you need to have the okay from that original photographer or artist first. Google, find the keywords that are behind that picture, find what is attached to that picture. And that is like investigation, right? It's like being a guru and going in and finding, I love that stuff, right? So find where it's sitting, right? Is it on a page where you can find it? Maybe it's an art guild page and you can contact them at the bottom. So I think it's very important for you to investigate those. But keep in mind that that can be a drill down that can take time and it can take energy. So if it's going to take you more than maybe a day or two to hear back, unless it's something very important to you, you might want to move on and try a different way or a different image. But also, if you want to drill down and take the time, it may be a collaboration that you can explore even further and would help your business. So definitely worth a try if you think that it's a great strategic move.
Yeah, excellent. And I'll throw in my suggestion as well. Always. Sure. If you have a post, say you see someone who has a great article and you're like, I want to use that, click the share button instead of just copy and paste, because in doing that, you link back, you reference right back to their original post. They know that you're borrowing their information, and they will have a much bigger appreciation for the fact that you've shared their knowledge because you're sharing their business as well. So it's a really great way of networking, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, if ever you're really concerned about it being, as Kelly has said here, if ever you're concerned, you can, your own stuff is always going to be safe. So using items like Canva or any program where you can create your own graphics, take your own pictures, those are always going to be 100% safe because you've created it yourself.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. And I think that creating your own content is key, because then you can affix your keywords to all of that content online and it'll all come back to you. So I think that's a great suggestion. Perfect example is the picture for this webinar, right? Like we're like, how do we combine it all? And like, I'm just going to write on a piece of paper and put my headphones down, put my coffee down. That's us, right? Click, away we go. It's ours. We own it. We don't have to ask for any permission to wait. Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. So now we're going to jump into my tips and tricks. So give me just 2 seconds while I get the slideshow back up. And where did that start button go? Oh, goodness. Of course. There we go. There we go. So we're going to talk about social media tips and tricks. So you have all of this content now. You are so inspired. You are ready to curate. You're ready to take your own pictures. You are ready to do all of this. And then you realize you have a business to run as well. And there is a reason why social media marketing is its own position. You don't have the time always to go and do a full-time job. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at some of the ways you can maximize the time you're spent on social media. So first, I wanted to jump into something you may have noticed developing in the past 12 months. You may have noticed a new row of pictures at the top of your Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter app. So they're usually little circles right along the top, and they're from your friends, they're from your network. These are images or videos that are only available for 24 hours. And they are all based off of Snapchat's original format. You may remember Snapchat back when it was the original. It was a great way of communicating bits of your day without it being up forever. Now that is a really popular format to have for many platforms. So these are referred to as Facebook stories, Instagram stories, LinkedIn stories, or Twitter fleets, because Twitter likes to be different. And these are really neat ways of showing what's going on in your business, what is going on behind the scenes. And I find them fascinating because they are not as polished as a regular video. So we're going to talk about the difference between having a social media post versus a story. Now, a social media post has a long-term shelf life. These usually stay online forever unless you go and actively delete them, and hopefully no one has reshared it. But it's going to stay up. There's going to be a shadow of it somewhere online forever. Your social media stories only have a shelf life of 24 hours unless it gets downloaded. But it's not supposed to be a forever thing. The social media posts can be in various formats. So they can be vertical, horizontal, square, video, photo, graphics, anything like that. Social media stories are vertical. So they are, gone are the days where we have turning the phone to the side to watch things. These are always in the natural phone position. You can watch these without turning your phone around because, you know, that's an extra step you don't want to take, I guess. Now, social media posts are a lot more polished because, as we said, they have that long-term shelf life. You want to make sure that your social media posts, like your Instagram pictures, your Facebook posts, these are going to represent who you are as a brand. So you want to make sure that you are putting out the best that you can to represent yourself. A story is a lot more unpolished. It's a bit more quick and dirty. You can have a little camera shake. You can have a little, behind the scenes. You want to be able to show that you are not perfect when you're running this business. So that is I think it is a really interesting way of grounding your business and relating to people. And of course, like I said, it is your first impression, so it needs to be a lasting impression, because when you go to someone's Facebook page, when you go to someone's Instagram, that is going to be what the first thing they see on their wall are those posts. Meanwhile, a story, usually only see those if you are liking or following that person. And so you already have them captured. And that's why it's a really great way to show the behind the scenes. You've already made that first impression. They have committed to liking you, and it's a really good way of just getting to know your audience. Oh, here we go. Now, here's the bread and butter of what I'm going to be discussing today. Scheduling your posts. If you took the time to meet with me at all in the past few months, you'll know that I have talked a lot about scheduling your posts. It's a very effective way of using your time online, and it lets you plan in advance so that you don't have to be online every day. In doing this, you can prepare your posts for days or weeks in advance and not have to worry about it. For example, this weekend is Valentine's Day, but we've known Valentine's Day was coming up for weeks. I mean, we've been aware of it for ages. If you knew you were going to do a Valentine's Day sale, you could have, back in January, prepared your posts leading up to Valentine's Day saying, hey, we're going to do a great combination with our local flower shop and our local chocolate shop. They're getting together and they're doing a great combo. Well, you know that that's going to happen. You don't need to be posting about that today if you can save time when it's quieter a month ago. So it's a really great way of taking advantage of when you're aware of what's coming up. So like Cindy was saying, you look at that calendar, you find out your overarching themes, you get the messages like, I know this holiday is coming up, so why should I wait until the week before the holiday? Now, the important thing is though, is that how do we schedule the posts? There's two ways to do it. The first one is a multi-platform scheduler. So these are usually third-party programs that allow you to schedule your posts in advance. If you're familiar with any of these icons, we have Hootsuite, Buffer, and Sprout Social. Those are three of the biggest brands. Now, these third-party platforms do have limited free options, and these should do the trick for most businesses. Now, the reason I say most businesses is because it depends on how many channels you're on. We'll get to that in a second. The great thing about these third-party platforms is that you are able to pull analytics from your posts to let you see what is successful among your followers. So analytics are a really great way of seeing what was successful, what was not, what are people responding to, and then you want to try and create that lightning in a bottle again. You'll get to see like, yes, this was shared a lot, and you get all of that information together, and then you go, okay, what was magic about this post? And I'm going to replicate that, hopefully. So I had a quick look at the two biggest platforms for your third-party multi-platform schedulers, Hootsuite and Buffer. Now, cost, for both of them, they do have a free option. Now, if you look though, they do, Hootsuite jumps up in price pretty quickly to $49, $129, and $5.99 a month, depending on what service you need. Meanwhile, Buffer is $15, $65, or $99 a month. Once again, it all depends on what services you need. For Hootsuite, even at its free level, it does include Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and YouTube, which is a lot more than what Buffer offers, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. However, for many of you, those four may be the four that you're using, if that. So there's really no difference between the two there. If you do want access to Pinterest, it's going to cost you on Buffer. Now, with the free account, you're going to have access to 3 channels on each. This is why I say most businesses should be okay, because I know that most of you are probably on Facebook, you're probably thinking about Instagram, and you could consider LinkedIn or Twitter. But if you go further than that and you have 4 or more channels that you want to be taken care of, then you're going to want to consider those paid accounts. This is where the important part is. Scheduling is what this tool is for. And with the free accounts, you can schedule up to 30 posts at a time. Once you have a paid account, it goes up to unlimited, so you can schedule months in advance. But 30 posts should get you through a month or two easily. With Hootsuite, it's 30 across all platforms, so you could have 15 of one and 15 of the other, or 10, 10, 10. But on Buffer, it's 10 posts per channel. So if you are very Facebook heavy, you can only schedule 10 at a time, even if you have 20 extra with the other 2 channels. So when you come down to it, I think that both are really great platforms. Hootsuite does cost more, but you get more bang for your buck. Meanwhile, Buffer is cheaper, but it is more limited until you reach the higher packages. I personally do use Hootsuite, but that's because I've been using it since the dawn of time, and I'm grandfathered into a really old account. I have been considering looking at Buffer for quite a while though, so it is definitely something that I would consider. These are not the only businesses though. If I have perked your interest, if you want to find out about these multi-platform schedulers, these are some of the other businesses available. I just don't know their platforms as well as I should to talk about them. The only one that I do know a little about is called Later. And this one specializes in visual social media. So they are really good at Instagram stories and posting Instagram. They focus primarily on the image and video. So if you have a very visual platform, if you want to show behind the scenes, Later is a fantastic start. I would highly recommend taking a quick peek at that. I believe they have a free option as well. So some of the other ones available, like I mentioned, Sprout Social, Agora Pulse, Loomly, Hey Orca, SocialBee, and SEMrush. And I've included links to all of those in our PowerPoint. Now, this may seem a little overwhelming. You don't want to sign up for an extra account. So what you can do is there is the native platform scheduling. So in 2020, most of these platforms did come up with a way to schedule posts for your business accounts. So you may not see this when you're on your personal account, but when you are on business pages, you will see the ability to share if you know the right places to look and to schedule, sorry. The benefit from posting from a native platform is that there won't be any issues in the posting due to there being no third party. So for example, if Hootsuite is running into an issue, Facebook is still going to be letting you post because they're not going through that third party. However, the downside is that to post to a native platform, you have to have multiple sites that you're active on. So if you wanted to use LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you're bookmarking 3 different pages to jump around to. So if you are looking to share the same post on 4 different platforms, that's going to take a few more steps if you want to go this way. First, we're going to look at Facebook Business Suite. So this is something that started out last summer, I believe, and it lets you control your Facebook and Instagram account all in its own platform. This all-in-one site strips away the advertising and the traffic, and it lets you see the essentials needed for running your business. So you're not getting all of the recommended pictures and friend requests and all that stuff. It's just business. So the Business Suite is fantastic for that. You're not getting bombarded with other things or hanging around you. Through the Business Suite, you can schedule posts, you can keep track of the activity, you can manage your ads and boost posts, as well as access your analytics. But these are called insights on the page. So once again, analytics are really important if you're looking to really get serious about your social media, because you want to be able to find what is successful and create that lightning in a bottle again. You may notice when you go to look at the Business Suite, there is another option called the Creator Studio. This is it's very similar to Business Suite. It came out a few months before Business Suite, and they have very similar structure. Both of them let you schedule posts on Facebook and Instagram. Both of them let you review the analytics. Both of them allow live streaming, and both of them answer messages. However, if you do get reviews on your business and you want to create ads, Business Suite is what you want to consider. If you're not too concerned about that, but you do want to post to Instagram stories, if you really like the idea of the stories, Creator Studio might be better for you. So I know I have both on my phone. I do lean towards the Business Suite, but that is because I use ads as well. So it's all about what are you comfortable with, get to know, download both apps, have a quick look, see what you're comfortable with, and just go with what your gut tells you in this case. Now, we also have Twitter. If any of you are into Twitter, in 2020, Twitter implemented the scheduling button from their web-based platform. So you can't access this from their app yet, but if you click on this button here, the circled calendar and clock, then you will access the schedule pop-up. And there you can change the date, time, and time zone of the post. And at the very bottom, you will be able to see all of your scheduled tweets. So it's really great if you know that you are going to have a promotion and you want to post every hour for the next 24 hours, just sharing your day. You don't have to be up on every hour. You can schedule those out if you know that's what's going to happen. Okay, so that was it for me. Does anyone have any questions at all that we can talk about? Let me turn off my screen sharing. And we're going.
So Rebecca, there was a mention of Crowdfire. Have you heard of Crowdfire before?
Oh, it rings a bell.
Okay, so I think Kelly asked a question about it. I just kind of pulled it up, and I think it looks like it has content as well as scheduling, which is really super cool that they've added that in. Yeah. Okay.
I will definitely look into
that.
Yeah,
me too.
But like I said, so it helps with curating content.
Mm-hmm. It has a component for content. Yeah.
That's very interesting. I like that. So we will definitely look into that. Good. We'll look into that and see what we can find for you guys on that. But yeah, I definitely agree with what I see. Ronnie, first, there is no cost for Business Suite, but as Nikki has said, Business Suite is a bit more difficult to use. Yeah. It's not the most user-friendly. Yeah. However, it is very comprehensive. So it's
Robust,
to me,
yeah.
it's worth the learning curve if you are really serious about taking your Facebook and Instagram to the next level. And it does allow you to have that window of, you know, you can really dig into what you're doing, and it gives you that ability to schedule, which is the most important part. Let me just, so we're going to we have some time now. We have about 15 minutes. If there are any questions or anything that we want to talk about, feel free to raise your hand. We will try, and we've got 2 screens here, so we're going to keep an eye on both, but you can click the raise hand option or just type it in the suite or unmute yourself and let us know. How is everyone feeling about this?
You can touch on hashtags a little bit if you want to, Rebecca.
Oh goodness, hashtags could be its own hour.
Yeah.
So hashtags are super interesting because they started on Twitter. I remember them being invented a long time ago on Twitter, but they have become prominent mostly on Instagram. Facebook does allow you to search by hashtag, but I find that it's not as necessary because you can search by keyword instead of putting the hashtag at the end. So if you're on Instagram, you are allowed to list up to 30 hashtags per post, which is a really great way of letting people know about your posts. You really don't want to use overarching general ones like hashtag food, but if you are doing like hashtag Christmas dinner, then you're going to have a lot of people looking for ideas for Christmas dinner. But the really broad ones are not as great because you get lost in the mix of billions of posts. And I am not exaggerating when I say billions. But if you can find one where you are in the 500,000 to 1 million range, that is a very active hashtag, but it is not overwhelmingly busy. It sounds like it is, but that's its traffic over time.
Yeah. Mark has a question. He had his hand up. Yep.
Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I have a business associate who does social media marketing professionally, and she is a Facebook friend. And I see videos from her, you know, every 3rd or 4th day. And you know, again, you know, she is intelligent and she does have a fair bit of knowledge of this, but it tends to get, you know, a little repetitive because again, how do you come up with new content every 3 or 4 days? So, you know, I'm actually considering unfriending her just because, you know, I'm getting this stuff coming up all the time, and it's just like, you know, stop that, you know. So how do you get around annoying people?
Well, I personally would ask a question. I mean, it doesn't hurt to pose that question and say, here's a pattern I find, here's something I see. I'm wondering if you're targeting like me, or what is the goal? What's the strategy of the content that you are putting out there? You just ask the question, right? And that will open up a conversation as to, she may not even have an idea that it's maybe too much, right? Because there is a rule, there is a line, there is too much, right? So just opening up that conversation. Sometimes we have a little bit of fear and a stigma to, like, if I ask the question, am I going to look like, but I mean, it's just from a business standpoint, right? It's a business page, or is it a personal profile? Do you know? Yep.
She's putting the content up on her personal profile.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
So it's coming in my personal feed, right? So
yeah. So that is definitely, I just posed the question. She might not even be aware that it is coming out on the end of that channel, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that that's from a business standpoint and a Facebook page standpoint. That's not the result that you want, right? So it all depends on what you want out of that relationship too. Is it just a personal relationship, and that's okay? And you can, you know, and if it's that close of a personal relationship, then it should be no problem to have that question posed, right? So, you know, throw caution to the wind and just ask the question. It's like, did you know that I'm getting these videos a lot? And she might like, oh my goodness, I need to make that change. It might be just as simple as that.
Okay.
Or it could even be a situation where maybe they don't realize, like Cindy's saying, like they don't have a Facebook page yet. They're just using their account.
Yes.
And what we want to do is be like, hey, I found out about this really like, do you have a Facebook page? I'd love to see what you're doing there, and kind of hype up the idea of being like, this is like, you're trying to make business transactions with your friends, and they're already supporting you. They like, your friends are there to love you and support you. You want to be like promoting to people who don't know you yet. So like, you want to make sure that anything business is going to the business page, and just find a very careful way to open it up and say like, hey, I noticed that a lot of your posts are going to your personal. You should make sure that your posts are going to your business as well, because maybe they're friends locked and they're going to go nowhere.
Yeah. That's great. So Steve and Debbie from Eighth Line. Hi guys. Every once in a while we ask if our content is what our customers want to see. I think that's fabulous. I love that. You're asking, they're helping steer. You're actually engaging so much that you're creating a relationship. I love that. And that comes out, and it will come out in your sales. That's the type of engagement that we're exactly talking about, right?
Definitely.
So Nancy also says, I seem to get stuck right from the beginning, looking for simple workflow from image formatting to graphics, posting, scheduling, just managing my photos from my camera, Photoshop formatting. Okay, so I'll just say a couple things about this one and hand it over to Rebecca.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be perfect, right? Sometimes we just have to let our stuff go, and that shows the realness in you, the person behind the business, such as the stories that Rebecca was talking about, right? So even as me, the inside artist, it's like, I don't want to let my baby go, my piece of art, until it's perfect, but that is not the real world, right? There's a point where you have to basically say to yourself, okay, you know what, today, this is good enough, and I'm going to let it go. So there are different components, but honestly, with the way social media has graduated and moved forward and grown, it's a lot less segmented than it used to be. And especially with last year, when the native platforms then integrated part of these planners and these schedulers within, that was a huge move. Typically it was external, and then you had this other thing. So yes, again, it plays back to, and I know I said it's more than two things. Again, it plays back to what is your investment and how much do you want to spend doing it, okay?
And I just want to point out one thing that I noticed you said was that you're using Photoshop, which means that you are part of the Creative Suite. If you have access to Adobe Spark, Spark is Adobe's version of Canva, and you might be able to skip a few steps by saving your Photoshop stuff to your Photoshop library and then opening it straight in Canva. It will save you a few steps, but it will just make the process a little better. This is not 101 level stuff. Like if you're using Adobe Photoshopping, all of these things, this is not something that we're saying like, yeah, go and get the account right away. But if you have access to those tools, there are ways that you can streamline everything so that it's a little faster just by using the same tool over and over, like throughout your process. So for me, I love Canva, but I do have access to Spark, which is almost identical. So I don't jump from platform to platform, but I do promote both.
Yeah, that's a really good point too, because working in Adobe Illustrator, which is huge files for images, and then trying to fit that onto something that'll go into Instagram, forget it, right? So Canva, Rebecca introduced me to Canva, and it is a great little tool for you to post the same piece to multiple platforms and applications. So another question on people being interested in a seasonal business. For example, we sell maple syrup and our high season is spring, but dies down later in the year. So suggestion, think about how maple syrup, the whole cycle of your business, the whole cycle, the trees are sleeping, you know, like stories about night time and the environment around the trees and your life when it's downtime. And do you go on vacation? Where do maple people go on vacation? So, I mean, this is part of my brain that doesn't stop, right? It's a curiosity. It's the investigation. What do other people who make maple syrup do? Look to see what other families do.
And definitely one thing I can think of as well is you are living a life that many people don't know about. So you are living a farm life, and we live in a society now where many people have never been to a farm. So if you want to show what is life like outside of Toronto and Ottawa, that's going to be huge. You can just share, like I've said to quite a few of some of our more rural locations, just share daily life for a bit and say like, you know, this is how we get during maple syrup time. Of course, this is how we collect it, but this is what we do the rest of the year. People will be really interested to know that. Like, I know I met a maple syrup person who explained to me the workload that goes into laying down the taps and getting all the hoses connected and everything. And I didn't realize how much work you guys did in those like 2 months. You do like a year's worth of work in 2 or 3 months and are well deserving of a rest afterwards. And I think people would really appreciate seeing that hard work, because then they'll understand, oh, this is the price, this is the reason I pay this price, as opposed to like getting Aunt Jemima's, which is just a corn syrup with flavoring.
What about end users? Who uses your maple syrup? Who consumes it? What about their life, right? It's like, where does it ship to? Who, you know, that's very curious too. So, yeah.
And we've got another suggestion in the chat: share recipes with maple syrup.
Oh,
yes,
recipes.
Yes. I would love, people love food. If you can like get some pictures going, share some. Or you don't even have to create the content. Just every once in a while, this is a fantastic example of curation. You're going to go and you're going to find your favorite maple syrup recipes and share direct from those recipes.
Right.
So maybe you don't like, I've got a great recipe for maple salmon with maple on it. I didn't make up this recipe, so I'm going to find the page that has the original link, the original recipe, share them, and then you're sharing two things at once, which is fantastic.
There's something that you can do with, there's something that you could do with QR codes as well, is that you can follow the journey of the maple syrup, right? Ooh. Just like bananas. So some bananas have a QR code on it. You can find who picked that banana. So there's amazing marketing opportunities there for sure.
There is. We do have a question it's a little far up. If your business is pretty static and there's really not much new month to month, how do you create content on a pretty boring business type? Well, first off, I want to say there's no business is boring, because we all know that behind the scenes, there are things that are happening. And for me, I would just be like, make people aware of what happens behind the scenes. So for example, if you have something that really doesn't change, but maybe in the office, things are a little chaotic once in a while. If it's good chaotic, share it. And just keep reinventing yourself, finding what online. You don't have to change your product, but just find what hits online. So I'll give you an example that I had a few days ago. Car sales. People are buying cars, and when they're done buying their cars, they're done looking. But if you can provide information related to that sale. So I learned that when you vacuum your car in the winter, you're saving the carpet. Now, I should have known that. I didn't though. That type of information that you're sharing though is so important for people who didn't learn that as a child, or didn't go to shop class if you're a car person. So if you have a field that people don't really know about, educate them. That's the huge thing. People either want to be on the internet to be entertained or educated. So if you don't have the entertaining side, you educate, and people love to learn. As much as we think we don't, we'd love to learn new things. Very engaging as well. Yeah. So Timothy put up a link to an example he used to tell a storytelling. People love to know the story behind your business. Very engaging. We're coming up to an hour. So if there's any questions that we didn't get to, we will definitely answer them. We will get to you. We will talk to you directly. We'll message you for sure. If anyone has something, speak now or forever hold your peace. But not, you've got us. You know our emails. You know how to get in touch with us. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But let's just see. I see a question. Let's see. Where did I see that? How do we get in touch? Oh, how can I get a copy to watch again? We have been recording this, so we will be able to share it with you guys. Just give us a bit to get it all sorted, and hopefully we will be able to share it with everyone. And I'm so happy to hear that you're feeling revitalized about social media. Yeah, me too. Oh, yay! Thank you, Michael. Conversion. So that's fantastic, everybody. Rebecca, I think this went very well.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, our friends. This has been great. It's been great to present and share our stories with you. Just a little note, I will be continuing here until the end of March. So please, anybody who will need some help or support, continue to contact our office for sure.
And anyone who was working with me, Cindy is going to be taking over as of next week. So we will be getting the transfer set up. And if, you know, I hope I still hear from you guys. I'd love to hear how your websites are going and everything. So please keep in touch.
Yeah, thanks everybody for sharing from here at the United Counties offices. We look forward to continuing with you, and stay safe, everybody.
Bye, everyone.